when you are ready.
So item 9 is a discussion of institutions not in compliance with accreditation timelines. For this report, I'll be reporting on the preconditions for the yellow and indigo cohorts that were due on March 31st of this year. So the following institutions were either late with submitting their preconditions or have not submitted their preconditions on time. We have Bard College. It says it's in the report they did not submit, but they did actually submit it recently since the report was posted. And then Pasadena Unified School District is late and they have an extension. I'm not sure yet if they've submitted their full report. And then Madera Unified School District was also late. Visalia Unified School District, San Diego Christian College, and then South San Francisco Unified School District. So we'll be in contact with these institutions and continue to work with them and then provide an update at the next meeting.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Bernardo. So this is an information item only, right? No action is required?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so thank you.
And I have some very recent information on Bard College. Because of this, we've been reaching out and talking with them. And actually, as of this morning, we got confirmation that they are actually going to close their music program in Los Angeles, which will close them as a program sponsor. So they're going to engage with us on ensuring a teach out plan for their candidates. It won't be till next year, so they'll close in 2022. So we'll be taking some steps to work with them to make sure all their candidates are taken care of. So that's part of the reason why I think that they were late is they were trying to figure out what to do with their program. So we'll be working with them as staff.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Okay, and yeah, thanks, Michelle, as well. All right, so it looks like 11:14, and we'll come back to item 5 again later on, but it looks like we are ready for item 16. Are we good for that one? Okay, item 16, the discussion of the 7th year report from the Masters University. Consultant Jake Schuler will introduce the item. And joining him is institutional representative Dr. Jordan Morton, associate professor and dean. Does anyone need to recuse himself? Seeing none, Mr. Schuler, will you begin?
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, committee members. This item is a discussion of the 7th year report from the Masters University. The Masters University site visit took place in February of 2020. So this was one of the very last in-person visits. Following the site visit at the March COA meeting, the COA assigned the status of accreditation with a 7-year report, consistent with the recommendation of the site visit team. Today's report is a discussion of that report to address all standards that were found to be met with concerns in the report. Following the March COA meeting, Dr. Jordan Morton has been in consistent communication with commission staff in addressing each standard. The first standard that was met with concerns was Program Standard 2 from the multiple and single subject standards. In the site visit, the team noted that the program's organized coursework did not clearly provide multiple opportunities for candidates to learn subject-specific pedagogy from the TPEs. The program offers a single course, or did offer a single course for all single subject candidates. To address these concerns, Masters University has created separate courses for each single subject content area with specific readings and content for each area, and works with subject-specific adjunct faculty to help differentiate each course when there are candidates within those content areas in the program. The second standard met with concerns was Common Standard 2, related to the purposeful recruiting and admitting of candidates to diversify the educator pool in California. In the site visit, the team noted that while some efforts were in place, a robust plan still needed to be developed toward the goal of increasing candidates to diversify the educator pool. To address these concerns, Masters has undertaken a more concerted effort to collaborate with the university at large to intentionally recruit candidates of color. In addition, the School of Education has taken actions to strengthen their relationship with the local community college TEACH program to recruit candidates to be able to complete credentials within the master's university. The third standard met with concerns was Common Standard 4 around continuous improvement. In the site visit report, the team noted that there was little evidence of use of feedback from stakeholders to inform decision-making for candidate efficacy or program rigor in a formalized way. To address concerns, Masters has implemented a university-wide data collection system that now includes all data from the School of Education and has resulted in a more formalized and systematic way to share data with stakeholders. I will now turn it over to Dr. Jordan Morton to provide any further comments.
Thank you, Jake. Good morning and thank you. Was talking with my faculty this morning and they wanted to reiterate our thanks to Jake and to our original site visit team for coming. We can't express how grateful we are to go through this process and believe that it's really strengthened our programs. The steps that we've taken, even during this past year of uncertainty, have made our future look very bright. And we're very thankful that we've been able to take the steps that we have taken. It's enhanced communication with our university administration. We do feel supported by them in these efforts. And we're very confident that we're going to be able to bring all of our standards up to being met within this next year, if not already. So we'd like to say thank you for the process. It does work, and we're very grateful for that.
Great, thank you so much. Opportunity for any questions or comments from committee members. Member Forbes.
I was particularly interested and wanted to commend you on the ways that you've tried to meet the single subject-specific methods courses, particularly in some of the low incidence areas. Like it may be difficult to get 5 music teachers, and yep. We need music teachers. And so I just was curious if you had any thoughts that you could share with us about how that's going, the challenges you might have on the institutional end, like defending those courses without adding to the candidate's tuition?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a small program, as you probably know, we're a small institution. So our single subject program often is a collection of a variety of people, candidates trying to get their credential in various and sundry areas all at the same time. We've taken the approach of trying to bring in what I'm calling an ad hoc single subject advisory committee of master teachers and staff from local schools, or also our own internal adjuncts, to try to put together courses that are meaningful and relevant, but also that can be run with low enrollment. And the university is supporting us in that. So we're very thankful that we are able to do those things. But yes, it has been a challenge. We might have 1 math candidate, a couple of English, that kind of thing. But we're managing to put together coursework that will be meaningful for them at the same time that we're trying to navigate sort of the economic reality of offering a small course. But in the sense that our program is supported by our administration, we've been able to make the changes that we've needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee member wish to make a comment or ask a question? Okay, seeing none, there were no stipulations, so no action is really required, but we could actually move to go ahead and accept the report if we'd like to do that. So would there like to make, Member Hillis?
I'd like to move that we accept the report, the 7th year report.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Member Amos. Any further discussion? All right, Secretary, please call the roll.
Cynthia Almos.
Aye.
Kathy Gratian.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Great, motion carries. All right, thank you, Dr. Morton.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Jake.
And Jake, thank you. Jake, I think I've seen you work harder on this meeting than any other meeting. I've seen you like 3 times now.
Yep. Yep.
Are we going to see you again?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Unless you need me, call me if you need me.
I'll text you. All right. Thanks, Jake. All right. We'll see you next time. All right. And thank you, Dr. Morton.
Thank you.
All right. Well, 11:20. We have an 11:30 time certain. Do we want to go back to item 5?
I'm ready. I think I
Okay.
can do that in I think I can do that in 10 minutes.
Okay. Great. Floor is yours.
So thank you. Yeah. So just in terms of accreditation operations issues, which are the things that I tend to spend the most time with, we are wrapping up common standards review for violet cohort institutions. Those are institutions who will have their site visits in the 21-22 year. We have our next 3 provisional site visits coming up. One is next week, and 2 are the week after that, and then we'll have some more in the fall. So carrying on the tradition that Terry started with that very first provisional site visit to Tulare, we will have some more coming. So you can look forward to hearing some new provisional site visit reports at your June meeting. So that's exciting. We will be releasing the recruitment request for individuals interested in participating in program review next fall. That'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So of course, we're already looking at scheduling program review for next fall for all of the, not sure how many institutions now, because a couple have dropped out, which is fine. But over 30 for next year again. So, and you know, that's usually probably about 140 programs is what it seems to kind of equal. So we'll be reviewing all of those programs in the fall. We've got a 2-day training session coming up May 21st and 22nd for new Board of Institutional Reviewers. These are individuals who reviewed program review this last fall or maybe even the fall before and have been assigned to site visits coming up. So they will be getting, they'll be getting their training. And that's fantastic. We need to continue to increase that pool of individuals because we've had some retirements. We've lost some team leads. So we're moving folks from common standards into team leads, which means we're moving people in, you know, so there's always that shift that happens. So continuing to build that pool is great. And I can just say, I had a brand new BIR member on a site visit that I just did, and he was terrific. So I know that Kara's listening. I don't know if Catherine Carney's listening, but I just want to say thank you so much for the fantastic training that they are doing to prepare these brand new individuals to step into a site visit like they are seasoned site visit reviewers. They're just fantastic. Cheryl, can you think of anything that I'm missing?
No, I think that's great. I think the only other thing I wanted to mention is that we are trying to see if we can make the June COA meeting 1 day instead of 2. I know everybody's really busy and June is always a hard time to get people anyways. And I think we might be able to do it. And I think what I would ask is that Michelle may send you out a doodle poll to see if it's better to hold it on the first day or the second day, because it's a Monday, Tuesday this time. Not sure why. I don't remember why we did that, but there must have been a reason at some point. So maybe Michelle can send you a doodle poll early next week, and we can figure out where we have the largest number of members that can attend on either the 21st or the 22nd of June. So
I think just the one other thing, and I meant to mention it while I was talking about program review, next year's program review will be a little bit special because we've got special ed programs that are now transitioning, given that the plans for implementation for the new standards are due in the fall, institutions that are submitting program review in the fall are submitting to the new standards. So we'll have a little bit of additional training that William and Sarah are going to help me coordinate. So we'll be training reviewers to review to the new standards. And then we're going to be doing like a mini program review for all of the plans for implementation that come in from all of the special ed programs at all of the institutions across California. So it'll be kind of program review plus next year. So it'll be a busy fall, but we'll get all those new special ed programs going on the new standards, and that will be really fantastic.
mm-hmm.
Great.
That is it for me. Yeah.
It's great that new BIR members are coming into play. I mean, I've done that, and it's a lot of work. But to get some good people in to do the job makes all the difference in the world. And I really can't say enough about what the PSD staff does. And formally, I'd just like to say thank you, congratulations. Your efforts are always well structured for the good of the cause. I mean, I've never heard anything negative at all from any of the staff. As far, yes, we had a lot of work to do. Well, sure. I mean, they'll say that, but it's not for a good cause. It's driven by what's good for the state of California and the program, and no matter how much work is thrown on them, they find a way to get it done. And it sounds like you got an even busier fall, but I have no doubt that you will just rise to the occasion and just have new stellar heights that you're going to be reaching. So again, really sincere thanks and congratulations for that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We're trying to encourage our staff to take a little break this summer if they can.
Yes.
But yes, we have a very busy fall.
Yep. Well, hopefully you can get some time to relax a little bit. How are we doing on? We got 3 minutes early. Are we good to start?
Yeah, they're ready to go.
All right.
So if you are ready, I'll bring those folks in.
Yeah, let's do that, and then after that, we'll talk
Okay.
about maybe for the afternoon schedule and so forth. I know we're going to be early to break for lunch, but yeah, but let's go and do the item 17, which is the
Okay.
report of the accreditation team to Poway Unified School District. Consultant Karen Sacramento will introduce the item. Also joining her, our team lead, Kim Yulbehart. Did I say that correctly? She can hear me. And institutional representatives James Jimenez, Associate Superintendent of Personnel Support Services, and Christy Schmidt, Induction Program Coordinator. Does anyone need to recuse himself? All right, seeing none, Ms. Sacramento, will you please begin?
I will. Good morning again, COA members. As the state consultant to the Poway Unified School District virtual site visit held from March 22nd to 24th, I'm glad to share this report and bring the recommendation forward. The protocols for this visit were all in accordance as well with normal procedures for a site visit, and the findings were based on a thorough review of all documents and evidence, as well as stakeholder interviews. There were no issues with the virtual format, and district representatives were very attentive to what needed to be done, looking at their program and any details at every stage before and during the visit. And again, this district was continuing to operate as it worked to support students moving between remote and in-person learning. So I just recognize and commend their flexibility and professionalism and commitment to teachers and students. So thank you to James Jimenez and Christy Schmidt for all that they do. The site visit team was thorough and conscientious. Thank you to Leslie Rodriguez and Kathy Hampton and the strong and reflective leadership of Kim Ubelhart as the team lead. Her deep knowledge of the standards and of teacher induction program implementation, focusing on the standards and preconditions, created a very strong accreditation visit. So I will turn it over to Kim now to review the program findings.
Sure. Thank you, Karen. All standards were met. The unanimous recommendation of accreditation was based off thorough review of the institutional and programmatic information and materials available prior and during to the accreditation site visit, including interviews with district program administration, mentors, candidates, completers, and site administrators, governance board members. The team obtained sufficient and consistent information that led to a high degree of confidence in making the overall and programmatic judgments about professional education units operation. The decision pertaining to accreditation recommendation of accreditation of the institution was based upon the following. All preconditions were met, all program standards met, all common standards met. So based off the team finding, we find that it was full the staff recommends full accreditation.
Great, thank you so much.
Is this my opportunity to add extra things now?
Sure, we got the time.
Okay, sorry. I know there's the formalized part, But I just want to commend the team that I worked with. They were highly skilled and they put in a great deal of time in preparation for the site visit, which made it go very smoothly. This was a very unique situation in that we worked through COVID. I was a little apprehensive. I've been on site visits before and how is this all going to work with all remote? And it worked out very well, hardly a glitch at all. And I just want to commend the district in its whole, because not only did they go through accreditation, the day of the site visit was also their first day of school. So could you have any more to the perfect storm? They were just amazing. The site visit began with just a wonderful tone of the way the superintendent embraced us, discussed her vision, referenced that as the North Star, and through every part of the interview process that just rose right to the top. Just the continuity for a district to have everyone on the same page, I just thought was, just a really great thing, and it made them even stronger. What was my third point of what was super very unique too is that Poway Unified School District's program has a governing board along with their teachers union. So there was a very strong relationship and years, you could tell, of trust building over time to build the collaboration between the district and their governing board. The superintendent said that almost like the governing board member was her co-superintendent. So this collaborative relationship back and forth really is unique, and it was an asset to the program. The other point that I wanted to make is that just the ability for Poway to grow their own. In speaking with administrators, there were so many in the room that had gone through the Poway induction program as a candidate and now are leaders. And they felt that they were able to narrow their voices and speak the same language throughout the district. So teachers are getting a solid message of what their mission is and leading to student success. And finally, I just want to commend Christy and her team. Just the ability to regroup her team and the governing board to redesign the IOP, and that open-mindedness to be able to shift and pivot and to look for ways to move ahead was very commendable. That's no easy feat when you're getting information coming from the team, and just how quickly she was able to respond and make those changes. So thank you, Christy, for your open-mindedness. I know that it will further support your candidates in developing a lifelong educator that's going to be effective for our students. So thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity. I always learn so much through this process. And Karen, finally, for your guidance. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Would it be appropriate? May I add on to that this time?
Well, yeah, in the formal statement, sure. And just to follow the formal procedure. So thank you very much for those statements. Yes, this is now a time for you to go ahead and make those comments. If you wish, Ms. Smith, not a time to dispute the team's report, but rather provide any thoughts that you may have about the visit itself. The floor is yours.
The visit itself is always, this is the second opportunity I've had to participate in a site visit for an induction program. And I just wanted to thank the team and Karen and everyone for their support, because as we all know, it's very involved, but it is always the best opportunity for us to really reflect and grow and learn and continue to improve our program for teachers and students. So I just wanted to thank the team for that.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity for the COA members to ask any questions or offer any comments that you wish to make. All right, seeing none, this is an action item. Is there a motion? Co-Chair Moore.
I recommend that we accept the site visit team's recommendation of accreditation for the Poway Unified School District.
Thank you. So moved. Is there a second? Second by Member Forbes. Any further discussion? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Cynthia Almos,
Aye.
Kathy Kershaw,
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes,
Aye.
Bob Fraley,
Aye.
Mike Hillis,
Aye.
Lynn Larson,
Aye.
Marty Martinez,
Aye.
Anna Moore,
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for the continued support and opportunity to grow our program.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Thank you as well, Ms. Ubelhardt, and also Ms. Sacramento. Thank you all. All right, our next item is actually in the afternoon at 1 p.m., and we do have some time here. There are items 22 to 24 that are not time certain, but I don't know if we have those participants available now. Or Cheryl, if you and Erin think that we should hold off on those to the afternoon, maybe we come back earlier from lunch and do those right after lunch. What are your thoughts?
We could do whatever the commission or the COA would like us to do. The 22, 23, and 24 are all just staff members, so we don't need external folks. Erin's ready for 24, so you can do it at any point in time. So it depends on if you're hungry now and want to stop and come back early, or if you want to, go ahead and go to lunch and then come back early. It's up to you all. We're ready, though.
Okay. I'm going to propose we try at least one of the items, if we could do that now. How about, you said, Erin, you're ready at 24?
Erin's
Yep.
24.
Okay, let's do that. That's the discussion of streamlined program review submissions for PPS, school psychology programs with NASP accreditation. And Administrator Erin Sullivan will introduce the item. Will you please begin?
Yes, happy to. Thank you. And still good still morning, committee members. So what this item is bringing to you is a proposal to potentially streamline the process of program review for pupil personnel services school psychology programs that also have NASP accreditation, and that is the National Association of School Psychologists. So that's the what. So just to go back a little bit, the Pupil Personnel Services Program Standards were recently updated and adopted by the Commission. We had several work groups with individuals within Pupil Personnel Services programs across the state that participated in those work groups for school psychology, school social work, and school counseling. And those individuals came together and worked with staff, Karen Sacramento and Roxanne Purdue, who you'll hear from later this afternoon, to propose these new standards. And when they were working on updating the standards for these pupil personnel services programs, they took as a cue the national professional standards for each of these programs. So the newly adopted pupil personnel services standards are very closely aligned to the national professional standards. So one of the things that staff was considering was, and we had some communication from the field from a couple of pupil personnel services school psychology programs who sort of asked about this. Staff took a look at the current set of standards using the crosswalk that the committee adopted a couple of months ago for school psychology programs. Took a look at what is required as part of program review and tried to make a determination about were there some things that are being requested in program review that for an institution that has current NASP accreditation might not need to be required as part of program review. Now, program review is not quite so simple. It is not a standard by standard, request. That if it were so, it would be different, for each program. Rather, it represents holistically a body of evidence that the commission determined when it was doing its strengthening and streamlining process back in 2014. A body of evidence that the commission determined would represent or give reviewers a sense of the program and some actual evidence about is the program aligned to the standards at the point in time when program review comes in. So it took a little bit of analysis to review the evidence that's being required for program review for school psychology programs and kind of make a determination about what things could be let go and what things would still be required in order for a program to show us that it is aligned to the components of the standards and the TPEs, and the PEs, the performance expectations, that are not actually covered between the national professional accrediting boards. So if you look at page 2 of the item, you'll see five items there. 3 of them are standards and 2 are performance expectations. Those are the 5 things that are currently not covered by NASP accreditation. So a program that has NASP accreditation, a school psychology program, would still need to demonstrate to the commission that it is addressing these 3 standards and the 2 components of performance expectations within their programs in order to satisfy commission standards and requirements. If you scroll down then to the bottom of page 2 and the top of page 3, the item presents to you the pieces of program review evidence that staff feels should still be or would still be necessary for reviewers to see in order to determine a nationally accredited program's alignment to those areas of the standard and performance expectations that are falling outside the crosswalk. Of those 5 items, I'll just walk through those real quickly and try to give a little bit of an explanation about why we think they should still be required. So element number 1 is the program summary element for program review. It includes a short narrative between 3 and 4 pages, and a table that shows the locations where a program may be offered, the delivery models, and pathways. We felt like this was an important piece of evidence to still require because it gives program reviewers that overall sense of what is the program. Who is it? What is it? Who are they serving? What are they doing? Where are they operating? So it provides context that feels like it would be very important to help reviewers to really understand the program as they dive in then to the other pieces of sort of more explicit evidence. So in element number 2, again, organizational structure, we felt like, so this is typically, they provide an org chart that shows sort of the reporting responsibilities and the individuals within the program that are operating. So we felt, again, that provides some contextual information that's important. And then going down to element number 5. Element number 5 currently for program review is the course matrix. It's a pretty meaty piece of evidence that provides the institution, or I'm sorry, the program with the opportunity to show, using direct links to syllabi, where the program is introducing, giving candidates an opportunity to practice, and assessing candidates on the various competencies or performance expectations that have been adopted by the commission for the program. Now, because the crosswalk shows that there are only 2 performance expectation elements within the Pupil Personnel Services program that are not being covered by NASP accreditation, it would be a streamlined matrix where we would only ask the institution to show us for those individual components of those individual larger performance expectations. So it's really just a couple. We would really only have just those 2 performance expectations or competencies on the matrix, but still ask the program to show us that I, that P, and that A for each of those. Fieldwork and clinical practice. There are some areas in NASP accreditation that do not cover all of the clinical and field practice requirements that the commission has in its standards. So we would ask them to still show us the table that shows the number of hours of field work that they require within their program, as well as the signed MOUs or agreements for the placements where they're putting their candidates, the syllabi for that clinical practice so that we just can further triangulate number of hours, how that's happening, how the candidates are learning those sort of pedagogical skills. And then a clinical practice handbook or manual. Most programs have that. And again, that's just further evidence about what does clinical practice look like, what can candidates expect to learn, how that's going to happen through the course of their program. And then finally, element number 7 of program review is the credential recommendation process. So NASP accreditation doesn't require that programs demonstrate, that there's a checklist, that there is a person within the program who validates the candidates have completed the requirements and are making that recommendation to the commission. That's very special to the commission. So we felt that that evidence element would still be required. So this would be a very streamlined process for programs that have NASP accreditation. Now, going into NASP accreditation, much like the commission's own accreditation, programs can have various levels of accreditation within NASP. They can be, the various NASP determinations that can be made after a program receives a visit from a NASP team is they can be nationally recognized with conditions, which is kind of like accreditation with stipulations, or that there is further development required, or probationary status, or that it's not nationally recognized. Anything beyond nationally recognized requires some continued response from the program. Again, much like our own stipulations, so that the program eventually rises itself up and can earn that full accreditation. So one of the things staff is sort of grappling with is, do we want to require that a program show us that it has full national recognition from NASP before we allow it to use this streamlined process? Or would we want to consider some of these other conditional recognitions? I will say that something to keep in mind is, if we consider something less than fully nationally recognized, there is a bit of a burden on the reviewers that they then have to sort of become NASP reviewers and be able to look at the conditions that are required of NASP and take a look at what the program has done to respond to that. And so like basically that NASP report becomes an additional piece of evidence. And we really, I think, would have to ensure that the reviewers for these school psychology programs have some familiarity with NASP accreditation, or provide them with some training. And that would be a little, I don't want to say burdensome. I mean, if this is the direction that the committee wants to go, we would figure it out, but it would definitely be some training that at this point, we would have to determine how to provide, because we are not NASP accreditors either. So I don't know how we would do that. So that's just something to consider. Do we require the institution to provide us with the letter or the report results that shows that they now have full NASP recognition? And if they have anything less than that, then we ask them for full program review submissions. So that's what we're asking you to consider today. Do we want to offer this streamlined process? And if so, do we want to require that programs have full NASP recognition in order to take advantage of it? Or do we want to consider some other kind of hybrid that takes into consideration their most recent NASP report? And I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Erin. That's really detailed. So it seems that if, from what you were saying, is that potentially, unless it's determined that from the committee votes to go ahead and accept your recommendation, which is that only programs with current unconditional national recognition be able to use this streamline, it's now putting the burden and the onus on individual reviewers to now make that determination to see if they are satisfying what those conditions are. And in doing so, it's now another layer of difficulty, really, because now that calls into question are they could be qualified to actually respond and make that judgment call, and now you have to provide that training for them. So it's just more and more involved process, and then finding exactly the right person to be able to review that could also be a challenge.
That's correct.
All right, committee members, what do you think? Colleagues, you all have great brains. What are your thoughts on this?
First of all, I want to just say, Erin, thank you for the clear and detailed explanation. And it just helped clarify some things. When you read it on your own, sometimes you don't quite make those connections. So thank you. I first of all, I support this overall. I think it's a good recommendation, and I think that we should. I think that we need to work to avoid adding additional. I'm going to call it burdens, even though you said maybe not, Erin. But additional work or training. I feel like our teams are already the work they do is already full, and it's detailed and requires a lot already of knowledge and experience. And so I think that we should accept Erin's recommendation that they have to have that full NASP accreditation first. That would be my suggestion.
Thanks, Marty. Any other comment? I mean, Erin, let me just ask you the question as well. It seems, though, that in doing so, we're not watering down at all the requirements. If anything else, you are having them step up a little bit, so it's not going to be anything that's going to be softening the process by not retraining or training individual reviewers who would be knowledgeable within this process, right? So in other words, having it the way you have laid it out, which would be to only the programs with the national recognition are able to use the Streamlined process. If anything else, it's actually strengthening the process and not weakening it. Is that how I read that correctly?
Sure, or at least it's ensuring that they aren't in some kind of conditional status where they're trying to meet NASP requirements and then,
right.
So I guess I don't know that it's necessarily stronger. It's just that if they have full NASP recognition, the Crosswalk shows that there is a whole slew of pupil personnel services program. I'm sorry, it's such a mouthful. Pupil personnel services, school psychology program standards that they're already meeting. So that basically that letter shows us, okay, they're already meeting all of this. There's just these 5 components that we need to ensure. So I don't know that it's any stronger. It's just it just gives the program a way to say, here's what we're meeting already. And
right.
Here's the evidence for the 5 components that we still need to address.
So it doesn't diffuse their efforts to try to satisfy 2 different entities at this point. It's the one that's already satisfied. Now you want to next one. Got it.
Yep,
okay.
Exactly.
All righty.
Yeah.
So there was a motion by Member Martinez. Is there a second?
I think it was just a comment, not a motion yet.
Okay, I thought I heard it as a motion. Member Larson and then Member Forbes.
I just wanted to echo what Marty said in that I feel like we definitely need to stick with the recommendation from Erin that we only go with those programs who are fully nationally recognized. I think it would cause a lot of headaches and lack of clarity and consistency if we're trying to use this process for programs that have conditions that need to be met. And it would encourage programs to strive for that highest level of recognition as well, I feel.
All right, thanks, Lynn. Cheryl, comments from you? I'm sorry, Cheryl Forbes, excuse me.
Oh, you're muted.
You'd think I never use Zoom for any other reason. First of all, kudos to the staff, not only for all the work that went into this, but for being so responsive to the field, because I know there had been some, concerns raised from folks in the field. I guess my question, I totally agree that if we're going to do the streamlined process, that it should be only for those institutions who have an unconditional accreditation by the agency, the other organization. My other question, I guess, maybe I've lost track a little bit, are institutions that have both national and state, California state accreditation, are there any other streamlined ways in which they respond? I haven't been on a site visit in a long time that was a dual national and California CTC. We're not that kind of institution. So I'm just wondering if this is like a process that other groups may want to also use if they're nationally accredited in some other area in order to streamline the process.
Yeah, that's a great question. So they may. Right now, the process is streamlined. And Cheryl, please jump in if I misspeak in any way. Right now, the process is streamlined more for the reviewers than for the institutions. So we ask the institution to submit all of the evidence that's required, regardless of their national accreditation, but reviewers are only required to assess that evidence with regard to the areas where that national accreditation doesn't meet commission standards. So it's streamlined for the reviewers, which is, it's still very nice for the reviewers. But yeah, I foresee obviously that this certainly opens a door. And I don't think it's a bad door. It takes a little time to, evaluate what's the necessary evidence to submit. But certainly, we've got We've got some other programs. You'll see some crosswalks for school psychology and school social work this afternoon. We've got some other things like ASHA accreditation for the speech language pathology programs. So it would be something that, yeah, staff would, as we get these, continue to add these national professional accrediting associations, relationships with them, we would be taking a look at additional streamlined processes for program review.
Yeah, I'll echo that. We have historically, I think, done a very good job of streamlining the NCAPE, now CAPE process. We have not done a very good job of getting at the program level. And I think, kudos to Erin who pushed on this, because we really needed to take some time to think about this, given that, one, we don't require things on a standard by standard level anymore. We, have certain prescribed things. And also, just the redoing of these standards. So I agree. I think this will be a model for how we move forward with the other ones as we go forward. And it'll be really nice to have a very clear process in place. We've been a little wishy-washy in the past about how and who and what looks at what, because we've basically kind of defaulted to, well, we need to look at everything. Even though there's this intent to have a close-knit connection and make it, less onerous on both reviewers and institutions, we haven't really done a very good job of that. So I think this is our first foray into really thinking hard about this. So, so basically, I think you're right. This is a first step.
Great. I just was trying to think about any, possible unintended consequences, but it seems like, especially at a moment in the field where it might be a disincentive to launch a program in these areas that are going to be needed. This might be one way that it would stimulate people or institutions to actually think it's feasible to implement these kind of programs, especially where they're required to have national certification, because in some of those areas, it's a requirement, not just an option.
Right. Okay, good conversation. Coach Cheryl.
I don't want to open up a can of worms or take us in the wrong direction, but I'm just curious what this, because you had mentioned, I'm pointing at Cheryl, and some of you have been on the dual site visits, and I have not either, but I'm wondering if this is adopted, what does that look like?
The site visit?
Yeah, for the CTC.
So I think if you recall, the site visit is at that bigger level. So it's at the, how are things going? How well are programs being implemented? They do take the feedback from the institution, or from the program review. So of course, if there's anything that is, there's feedback on any of these items that Erin has put forward, then that's going to be part of the discussion at the site visit, of course. But I think because the site visit, we're at the point of talking with folks. So what we try to do is make sure all of the review of documentation is done pretty much prior to actually getting the chance to talk to people. So I think it will work just fine. We're going to have to play it out a couple of times to see how well it works. But Erin, do you have any other thoughts about the site visit?
No, I didn't actually think that it would change the site visit much, because again, we're still evaluating them against the standards. Mm-hmm. Even though we're evaluating for less standards, like the evidence pieces kind of come in year 5,
right?
Hopefully, except maybe for some addenda things. And then at the site visit, we're interviewing, candidates and the people in the program. And I don't know that we would interview any less folks.
Right.
I think we would still, because those interviews really triangulate everything for us and for the team. So I think we would still interview all the same people.
I agree.
I just wonder if maybe on down the road there, if we're streamlining right here because we don't want to, do duplicative work, and they're doing their own site visit concurrently. Just maybe it gets streamlined. And again, maybe you're already doing this. I haven't been on a dual site visit. So anyways, that's another conversation, but
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think
teams looking at all the same standards. And if we've identified 5 elements, wouldn't we just be maybe looking at those 5 elements?
Oh, we would.
And looking at everything they've done?
No, I think we would still be looking at those 5 elements, but I haven't evaluated this yet. But I think we would still want to interview the same people, even just for those 5 elements, because there's performance expectations that, yeah. So, yes, we
would be streamlined because you're not.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
A caution to that because we say everything's on the table at the site visit. So even though there might have been only some feedback on, 3 of the standards in general, yeah, you need to hone in on those 3 standards, but you're looking to find out if there's anything else that pops up about another standard. So if something were to pop up about something other than the 5 things, that's on the table. So,
yeah.
So yes and no.
So I think that's a good point to make. So let's say NK or whatchamacallit. Yeah, thank you. I know because it keeps changing. They say, okay, this standard is good to go. And we're said, okay, we're aligned with that standard. So technically on paper, we've said that standard's good to go. But then you get to the site visit and all of a sudden you're like, woo, I didn't see this little owie over here.
That's right.
It doesn't really match what NK or K.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's I think important somewhere down the line that I'm sure your team, your consultants are sharing that, but okay.
All right, thank you again for some good discussion here. A lot of information on the table here, but we're looking right now for a motion to approve the proposed streamlined process of NASP, recognize PPS school psychology programs to submit program review in year 5 of the accreditation cycle. And you don't have to say exactly that in your motion.
Yes.
If you can do that, hats off to you. Okay, but we are looking for a motion. Member Martinez.
I propose what Bob said. Now, I propose that we approve the proposed streamlined process for NASP recognized PPS programs to submit program review in year 5.
Thank you. What you missed in part of mine, I'm up under my breath, was a 25% raise at my university. So we're all proposing that as well. Okay, so thank you, Marty. Is there a second? Second by Member Amos. Any further discussion? No, the secretary, please call the roll.
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Kathy Gracia.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you both, and thank you, Erin, taking the lead on this. I mean, this is a monumental task, and I think it's really clearly spelled out, and I think it'll be beneficial down the road. So thanks again, as always. The work you guys do is phenomenal. Okay, we are shortly after noon. Our next time certain is 1 p.m. I'm thinking maybe we come back a few minutes ahead of time, maybe 12:55, to be sure we're all working and checking in that all of our tech works. So unless there are any disagreements, we'll see you then at 12:55. All right, thank you.
Cheryl and Bob, can I talk to you for just a second?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know, I sent you an email, but I wanted you to know that I will recuse myself from item 20.
Okay.
So, and then I'll come back, Bob. Also,
Yeah,
there is a discrepancy in the times of our. All right. All right, so we're just missing Cynthia. We got Cheryl's question answered.
Okay, so we've heard that the chandelier is from Williams Sonoma.
And we have Cynthia, we're missing Kathy.
Yeah.
If you click here, you can purchase it now, right?
Right.
Purchase it.
All right.
Do we have the team from the Bay Area School of Enterprise and Mr. Locks in the waiting room?
Can you guys hear me now? Yeah.
We can.
You're echoey, but
I'm using one. Whoa.
Does anybody else see Jerry twice?
Yeah.
Is that why he's echoey, I wonder?
Yeah, if you turn off the sound on the computer you're not using, that'll probably solve it. I've had that issue too.
So now I see him once.
Is that better?
In one.
Yes, it is.
Better.
That's great.
Can you guys hear
And
me now?
yes, so we have Bob Locks and the representatives from REACH in the room.
Great.
Is Robert Perry available,
Oh,
Erin?
thank you, Bob. Sorry. Yes. Important. Team lead. Got it. Okay.
All right. Well, welcome back from lunch. We are going to start the afternoon session of this Committee on Accreditation with item 18, which is the report of the accreditation team to the Bay Area School of Enterprise REACH Institute. Consultant Bob Locks will introduce this item. Joining him are team lead Robert Perry and institutional representatives Elizabeth Baham, Dean of Graduate School, and Joe Ross, President. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? All right, Mr. Locks, will you begin, please?
Certainly, thank you. This is the accreditation report for Bay Area School for Enterprise REACH Institute, which took place February 22nd through 24th, 2021. The site team was well prepared and the institution worked very hard in staging all interviews through Zoom and ensuring that there were enough stakeholders for us to be able to paint an accurate portrait of their four programs. Before we share our findings, I feel that I have to state that the timing for the REACH Institute probably could not have been any worse for the institution. Last year, the program's fiscal situation required them to make cuts to their teaching staff and administration. Having to make these deep cuts in their admin programs in August and September of 2020 affected them much more than they had anticipated. This, combined with other instructors and supervisors leaving in support of those terminated, left REACH in a precarious position that was definitely felt by all admin candidates. The current administration has admitted that they were not as open and as transparent as they could have been with this, but felt that their hands were somewhat tied because of the confidentiality matters. All of this tremendously affected the results of their visit. Certainly, last fall was a true challenge for them, but through interviews, we discovered that they have begun addressing these issues, of these communication issues, and are beginning to regain the confidence of their candidates. The site visit team had long discussions on how we should view their adherence to the standards, where they had been the entire school year versus where we see them now. We felt that we could not dismiss what many candidates and employers had said about the lack of communication, but remembered that REACH has ran such strong programs in the past, and it is evident that they're addressing the issues from last fall's instructor-supervisor exodus, that we came to the recommendations that you see before you. We are very confident that REACH will be able to show complete fulfillment at all the standards in the near future. Now, team lead Robert Perry will share our findings and recommendation.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Bob Perry and was very pleased to lead this team back in February. The unanimous recommendation of accreditation with major stipulations was based on a thorough review of the institutional and programmatic information and materials available prior, and then the interviews that we did when we were on site virtually, and that was with administrators, faculty, candidates, graduates, and local school personnel. The team obtained sufficient and consistent information that led to a high degree of confidence in making overall programmatic judgments about the professional education unit's operation. The decision pertaining to the accreditation recommendation of accreditation with major stipulations for the institution was based upon the following, and I'll just summarize. The team found that standard 3 for the preliminary multiple and single subject intern credential was met with concerns. All the teacher induction program standards were met. Standards 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 for the preliminary admin services credential were met with concerns. Standards 2, 3, and 5 for the clear administrative services credential were met with concerns. Common standards 1, 2, 3, and 5 were met with concerns, and common standard 4 was not met. This led us to the recommendation for accreditation with major stipulations. And I will go through those stipulations with you right now. That the institution provide evidence that it actively involves faculty, instructional personnel, and relevant stakeholders in the organization, coordination, and decision-making for all educator preparation programs. That the institution provide evidence that it ensures that faculty and instructional personnel regularly and systematically collaborate with colleagues in P-12 settings, college and university units, and members of the broader education community to improve educator preparation. Number 3, that the PASC and CASC, which are the admin programs, provide evidence that all faculty who teach and supervise courses and field experiences are qualified and have a thorough understanding of California public schools, including content knowledge, knowledge of current context, including state-adopted P-12 content standards, frameworks, and accountability systems, knowledge of diversity in society, and demonstration of professional practices. Number 4, that the institution provide evidence that information and personnel are clearly identified and accessible to guide each candidate's attainment of the PASC and CASC program requirements. Those again are the admin programs. That the PASC and CASC programs provide evidence that site-based supervisors are credentialed, carefully selected, trained, and oriented to provide effective and knowledgeable support for candidates. Number 6, that the institution provide evidence of the implementation of a comprehensive continuous improvement process in which both the unit and its programs regularly assess their effectiveness and make appropriate modifications based on findings. This process must include systematic collection, analysis, and use of candidate and program completer data, as well as data reflecting the effectiveness of unit operations. Number 7, that the institution provide evidence that the continuous improvement process collects feedback from key stakeholders, such as employers and community partners, about the quality of the programs. Number 8, that the PASC and CASC programs provide evidence that documents the process through which it ensures that all candidates know and demonstrate the knowledge and skills required by the standards prior to recommendation for a credential. And finally, number 9, within 1 year of this action, REACH must hold a revisit with the team lead and state consultant to collect evidence of actions taken to address the stipulations noted above. In addition, staff recommends that the institution's response to preconditions be accepted, that REACH Institute be permitted to propose new credential programs for approval by the Committee on Accreditation, that REACH Institute continue in its assigned cohort on the schedule of accreditation activities, and subject to the continuation of present schedule of accreditation activities by the Commission. And in summary, I concur with what Bob Locke shared earlier. Unfortunate timing. We were not prepared for the information that we received, but when we brought it to the attention of the school, we could have honest and frank conversations. So I have no doubt that they are working on many of these things and will continue, and look forward to going back and seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you for that terrific report, Mr. Perry. That was very informative. And at this time, we now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. We remind you that this is not the time to dispute the team's report, but rather to provide any thoughts you had about the visit. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Thank you.
I apologize for the background. My dog is gnawing on a bone, trying to get him sufficiently distracted at this time so I can speak. But first I want to say it's good to see both Bob and Bob again, whom we affectionately called CTC Bob and LA Bob. So it's good to see you guys again. My name is Liz Bayham. I'm the Dean of the Graduate Department at Reach and the CAO. I've been at Reach for about 6 years. And this, I think both Bobs kind of captured it perfectly. Like, this has been a season of transition for us, right? Not just with our PASC and CASC faculty, but the year prior with the executive director stepping out kind of three quarters of the way through the school year. And then I had to step in as interim executive director. There were some financial underpinnings to this, as was stated earlier. So that's kind of the season that we found ourselves in. And unfortunately, the timing of the visit coincided with where we were trying to get back to like stable footing, right? So we had seasoned faculty who had been there 8+ years, and through four different reasons, some of which are financial, there was a turnover in staff. And we found ourselves in August, September, making rather quick decisions to kind of get back to a place of stabilization. So we didn't probably present ourselves in the best light. I understand that. And we also do have a very strong record of being adherent to the standards, being very compliance oriented, and not compliance in terms of the technicality of compliance, but very much the spirit of it, and doing what we need to do as a faculty to live out what the standards are. So it doesn't feel good from an institutional perspective that this is the showing that we had, but we do have every faith in our faculty and in our leadership that we are back on the right footing. We have, of course, our focus is on PASC and CASC, but not to the neglect of any of the other programs. We have taken to heart already some of the feedback that both LA Bob and CTC Bob, I'm sorry, I have to say it, have given us as a result of the visit. So we feel like we're making steady progress. It is a little bit of a journey, right? And so we're making steps towards that. We have every confidence that when the visit comes back again, when they come back again next year, that they will see the reach that they are used to seeing. And lastly, before I turn it over to Joe, we have kind of distilled the feedback down to 2 key areas: documentation and communication. And these are the internal conversations that we have been having. One as of 2 days ago, actually, the most recent one, in terms of how do we accurately document that we are doing the things that the site visit team said that they didn't see. We are doing it, and it's our fault for the way in which things are documented and the way in which things are not documented. Things that make sense to us, kind of in a very natural way, may not make sense to other people when they look at what we're presenting. So we're going back to look at different ways to document what we're doing and to document the things that we are not doing. And honestly, we can do better. In communication, I think this is a really good moment for us to really focus on that as an area, because when you feel you have done a good job at communicating, and then the feedback is like, well, you haven't communicated sufficiently, it's a time to revisit what that process looks like, what the levels of communication look like, and the means and methods, and also the documentation of the communication, right? So those are the 2 big buckets that we are focusing on and drilling down within each of our programs. And not just the PASC and CASC, let me say, even though that was called out specifically in many areas. We're looking to align systems and processes and approaches across all of our programs so that there is a unified platform and way in which we engage our candidates, our partners, other stakeholders, alumni inclusive of that. So very much appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. Very much appreciate both Bob and Bob. I know they've done their due diligence in this effort, and reach is not one to shrink back from a challenge. So we're on it, we're making progress. And Joe, I'll turn it over to you if that's okay with the commission.
Thank you, Liz. And I really do not have much to add to what Liz just provided the commission. We are happy to answer questions. I will say we are exceptionally proud to serve over 200 candidates across those 4 programs, most of whom are in the induction program and the intern program. And we do expect similar numbers next year. This year of transition was real for us. Last summer, Reach faced a financial crossroads, and it could have had the same outcome that other institutions have suffered. And I'm very grateful that now, fortunately, we are on a different path. All 4 programs are now well-resourced financially. They are well-staffed with exceptionally qualified faculty that the committee will see, that the site visit will meet some of the new ones when they join us. And we are also putting into place organizational structure needed to adopt the site visit team's recommendations. And as Liz mentioned, we've already started some of that work, recently kicking off a cycle of partner meetings with new and existing partners. We've already convened a new partner advisory council for existing school partners. There's more to do. There's a lot to do. The roadmap provided by the site visit team is exceptionally helpful. We look forward to continuing our efforts and to continuing to collaborate with the CTC. Thank you.
Thank you both for your responses. That's very enlightening, and actually wouldn't expect any less from the Reach Institute. And I think, like you mentioned, we think of these, as guardrails or a roadmap. Now you have a focus as you move forward, and to systematize your processes and procedures. And I'm sure you'll find it helpful. We've had institutes before us that have had come to us right when the site visits during a transition or a financial hardship due to a variety of circumstances. And the support that they usually, they always receive from their CTC team is really provides a lot of information and keeps the focus, helps keep the focus, because the problems of the day can frequently sideline us, and but getting right down to it and finding ways to document. I wrote down while you were speaking that document the obvious. Some of the things when you have such a close administrative team who's running these programs, sometimes we forget that there are going to be other people looking at what we're doing, and we need to be able to describe and show to them what we're doing. And so documenting those conversations and those meetings and whatnot is very helpful. So I think also you might, well, you've done this before, so you can look at previous documents that were successful, or just talk to your colleagues in the field and say, how did you document this? We've talked about at the COA different ways to provide exemplars for institutes, and we're still working on that, but this will give us a little impetus to provide that opportunity and get that up on the dashboard for institutes who are going, how do you? I've been in your spot. Like, I know we're doing this. How do we show and tell everybody we're doing good stuff? So I'm sure you're going to do just fine. And now I'm going to take this opportunity to ask the rest of the COA members if they have any questions or comments for this team. Yes, Member Forbes.
Well, my comment is thank you so much for your candor and for really taking a hard look at what's happening and where you can make improvements and sharing that with us, so that's really heartening. And I know it probably wasn't easy, but it also shows that you have that reflectiveness built into your work and to your systems. And your multiple single subject intern and induction programs are a testament to that vision and in implementation. So I just had one kind of clarification question. You said that you expect similar numbers next year. Is that for all programs, including PASC and CASC? What do you see as the next steps for PASC and CASC given the financial challenges of the transition?
I think that's a great question. And while we're in the kind of recruitment season right now, it's hard to say where we will land. But Right now, we have 8 folks who are in our prelim pathway, and about six folks, no, like 7 folks who are in our CASC. So the CASC is kind of dependent upon who matriculates from the PASC and who has an admin job. So that is kind of a wait and see for us. But typically those numbers in our clear pathway hover around, I would say maybe 5 to maybe 9, 10 on a good year, depending upon people's professional desires and or their availability of a position. So we're expecting our year 1 clear folks to move over, which is 7. Moving into year 2. For sure, we know that we have 1 person moving in from our PASC into our CASC. The challenges for us this year, a good amount of folks in our PASC are actually from a district where they have their own induction. So, so we expect the year 1 numbers to be a bit light, honestly, in that realm. But for our PASC, we are hoping to at least meet where we are now in terms of the numbers, which is, technically we have 9, but 8 because one of the folks that we have in there is on a master's pathway. So that person's not seeking the PASC, but we have 8. We're hoping to meet that. We expect to meet that.
Thank you for clarifying.
I had one question for the COA, and Michelle, I know you sent us the chart. On one of the stipulations, the staff recommends that the REACH Institute be permitted to propose new credential programs for approval by the Committee on Accreditation. And I wondered on that document, Michelle, I'm a little uncomfortable with that right now, given the amount of work the REACH Institute needs to do this year. And I just wondered what your thoughts are with regards to removing that.
Anna, who are you asking that to? The
COA. And Michelle,
that's certainly optional under major stipulations.
Thank you. That's what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Member Forbes.
So I also wanted to start by commending the team because it sounds like you had, quite a review team, COA Bob and LA Bob and the other folks on the team. And the report was very clear to the point and, captured all of that complexity, I thought. But I was curious in the stipulations about a timeline. So, sometimes we'll see that stipulation might say within, the committee will, or the institution will report back to the COA within 60 days, within 90 days, within, a specific time frame. And so I was curious about whether or not the review team thought about that part of the stipulations, if you had any recommendations about that or thoughts about that.
Yeah, we did talk about a semi-annual report or a quarterly report, and we felt that most of these things were just going to be continually growing to where a quarter report wouldn't really, I don't think it would put anybody at ease. And we felt that just with if there was to be a follow-up visit, then just the communication between the commission and REACH during the year, that we would be able to, keep in touch with where they are in their progress. And if there was an issue, then we could maybe bring it to the COA if we didn't feel they were moving. But it just seemed like so many of these items were, a lot of it had to do with communication. And that would be really hard to know if that's happening, in reality. So we just felt that just the continuous communication that we had building up to that revisit would suffice there.
And again, I just want to say that is an optional under major stipulations. So if the committee would like to do that, that's certainly an option.
So perhaps a 6-month report.
You could do that. You could do quarterly reports. You've done in the past. You've done quarterly reports or 6-month reports. Usually the 30 days you do when there's a precondition issue that you want follow up, but you could also do the 30 day. It's up to you. And you could pull out any number of these stipulations if there's certain ones you want to see and maybe not the others. It's up to you. You can do this however you want to do it. I mean, one example might be number 5, which is about making sure that the site-based supervisors are credentialed. So you might ask, you could potentially at the beginning of the school year next year ask for that by, October 1st or something like that. That's just an idea, but it's all up to you guys.
So a 6-month report would put us in October. So that would be a nice time to kind of get an update. And site visit would happen in April, and then we'd get a 1-year report or on a site visit in May, or you will. So I'd suggest that we do a 6-month report. We add that and we remove the stipulation of being able to propose new credential programs. Anybody want to comment on those suggestions? Anybody want to make a motion? Member Larson.
I just wanted to add a comment. I think that seems like an appropriate time frame and allows them, sufficient time to put some of these things into place and come back and report to us on their progress.
Great. Member Morrison.
Please excuse the quality of the audio here. I hope you can hear me. I just like to say that I agree. I was a bit startled when I saw that, thinking about proposing new programs. I wasn't sure why that was there. Were they in the process of doing that and they want to carry on? I don't know. But to me, it makes sense to remove that as well as have the 6-month report.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Member Forbes.
And it might also actually help the site visit, the number of items that are going to be reviewed at the site visit. So say, for example, at the 6-month report, we can see that the mentors for this year all have a clear credential, then that might be one fewer items that have to be reviewed at the site visit. I don't know, possibly. Really kind of focus in on those things that are the most important things to capture in a year.
Yeah, nice benchmark. All right. No further comments. We need a motion.
And can you just clarify, I think you said remove the ability to propose new credential programs and a 6-month report. Are those the two revisions, I would say, to this,
Yes, those are the amendments to the site visit team's recommendation.
Okay, I can make a proposal. Then I propose that we accept the team's recommendation for Reach Institute of Accreditation with major stipulations, and that we revise that recommendation to include a 6-month report somewhere around October. And then also that we remove, I'm trying to get to this, but that the recommendation of the ability to propose new credential programs.
Perfect, thank you. A second, please. Second by Member Larson. We need a roll call vote, please.
Cynthia Amos, Kathy Keisha, Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Did he say aye?
Aye.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, terrific. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your comments, and I'm sure you're going to do great. Ms. Behem, Mr. Ross, LA Bob, and CTC Bob. You're never going to live that one down. So. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. We are now on item 19, which is the report of accreditation team revisit to Aspire Berkley Maynard. Consultant Miranda Gutierrez will introduce this item. Joining her is team lead, Dr. Melissa Metz-Hall, and institutional representatives Ruth Nagash, Director of New Teacher Development, and Jen Garcia, Chief Academic Officer. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? Terrific. Ms. Gutierrez, will you begin, please?
Good afternoon. Aspire Berkley Maynard Academy held an accreditation site visit in April 2020. That accreditation report was presented at the June 2020 COA meeting. At that meeting, the COA accepted the team recommendation of accreditation with major stipulations. And over the last year, I've worked with the Director of New Teacher Development, Ruth Nagash from Aspire. We've prepared and presented quarterly reports to this committee. 2 reports have been presented, and the third is included in Appendix A of this item. In addition, the stipulations included a revisit, and on April 20th and 21st of this year, the team lead and I conducted a virtual revisit. The team relied on those quarterly reports and interviews with stakeholders to review the progress made over the last year. And I want to acknowledge the work of the institution over the last year in addressing the stipulations, which was evidenced through the quarterly reports and the revisit. And I also want to thank Dr. Melissa Metz-Hall for her leadership on this revisit, and I will turn it over to her to go over the revisit findings and recommendation.
Thank you. Thanks, Miranda, and hello, committee members. I'd like to start off. I want to thank Ruth in her position of Director of New Teacher Development, and of course, all of the leadership, and Jen is here as well. Just in the time to facilitate and participate in this revisit. And also thanks to Miranda, as she said, she certainly was provided ongoing support in order to for those quarterly reports, and then to assist during the revisit. So I know that you have read the report. I know that you read carefully. So what I wanted to do is just bring forth some specifics, tell a little bit of the story of our journey with the revisit. So last spring, during the site visit, and I will leave Ruth to give more specifics, and I hope I'm, of course, factually correct, but human and memory. But Ruth was not long, had not been in her position very long at the time of the visit last year. Also, it was within the first month and a half of conducting virtual site visits. So those two factors were, I would say, unique. We still carried out the visit as we should, but that was unique. And the COVID-19 quarantine, it impacted some of the professional developments that they were able to offer, and it also hindered their, I believe it was their March institutional advisory. So here we came in right after, when they would have had an institutional stakeholder advisory meeting, and that had not been able to be held yet. So just a little bit of the contextual background. So now, moving from just that little background, brief background, I'd like to talk about what we found here at the revisit. So again, I want to acknowledge that vast amount of work and progress made across the program. First, to recognize Ruth, Jen, the executive leadership, the conversations they've had that were evident from all of our interviews. I want to cite an example, repeated confirmation about collaboration and communication. And they have schools in different parts of the state, and that was uniform. So it didn't matter if we were hearing from teachers in the Valley, Central Valley, or teachers in the LA region or the Bay Area, but that collaboration and communication was evident. And again, through those, I think I hope you've seen those in those quarterly reports. Advisory board members as well as administrators were able to articulate the various types of data that they analyzed together. They could talk about their decision making and talked furthermore about how they talked about impact. And they had a couple of different ways that they did that. So very, very affirming. Switching to the induction candidates. Those candidates talked about, and I quote, deep and sustaining relationships with their coaches. Candidates also talked about impact the impact that their coach had on their reflection, their ability to reflect. One second-year candidate indicated that he was supported and it made him be more intentional in his reflection and more intentional in his lesson plan. They discussed how their ILP and their coach had an impact on student engagement. And then another candidate said she was able to examine her planning process, and focus on selecting meaningful learning activities, that promotion and sanctioning of being thoughtful about their practice. And then lastly, there is foundationally a culture of professional learning throughout the Aspire organization. All employees engage in a PLP, professional learning plan. They talk about growth. They talk about how that impacts their students. So we heard about that consistently in those interviews. So while we were able to confirm so much progress, there were really 8 stipulations that we could gather evidence about at the time of the revisit. There was one facet of that initial stipulation 2 that we could not confirm. And it was a lack of understanding or being able to articulate the way that a retention decision is made for and I'll say the coach/mentor. Okay, so we looked at the PLPs, we looked at the guidance on how to create, those are their professional learning plans. The mentors certainly have received training, they engage in those learning focused conversations, but to articulate how is the decision made for you to be retained as a coach, that is what we could not find. So it's very, very precise. But all of the other, we have high degree of confidence because of the different multiple ways that we received evidence. So therefore, we have stipulation 2, which is not met, and the team is recommending accreditation status of accreditation with stipulation, and that, as of course you've seen in the report, that the others would be removed. So thank you and welcome your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Metzall, for that report. It's very, very well stated and definitely brought the highlights of the team visit report or the report to us. And at this time, I'd like to invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment on the visit. And this is not a time to dispute the team's report, but rather to provide any thoughts you have and anything that you'd like to share.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Melissa and Miranda. I think Melissa was right in last year and how we started off the year and, being in the middle of a pandemic during our first visit. We were really excited to really engage in some of the feedback that we got to make sure that we strengthened our program for our teachers and our mentors and the experience for our whole institution, which leads, which trickles down to our students. So we really took the time to make sure that we were engaging all stakeholders in our institution to make sure that we were able to address those stipulations. And we cannot wait to remove that one last stipulation so that we have full accreditation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth, for setting that up. I would just like to agree with Ruth completely. It has been incredibly challenging and with the pandemic, and we're really grateful for this opportunity. We seek to always improve, and so we understand what the next step is, and so that we have lots of clarity for our folks on the ground, and we thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your comments. At this time, I'd like to offer some moments for the committee members to ask questions or ask or make comments on the report. I was wondering what you might be doing already, what you're thinking about how addressing the one stipulation that you have.
Yeah, so I think there are different forms of data that we were looking at when thinking about the retention of our mentors. But what we didn't have, which was apparent, was like really explicitly in our PLP process, something that highlighted for our mentors what their goals were and how we would look at their progress to make sure that we were retaining the proper people. And so for next year, what we're hoping to do is include in the PLP process for all of our mentors a goal around coaching and mentorship specific to the induction program, and making sure that we're looking at data points that show growth and show that the right people are in those positions for retainment for the next year, and making sure that we have the right coaches for our teachers.
Yeah, in our last report, we were talking about sometimes you have to document the obvious, even though you know you're doing it and it's there, or those conversations are happening, making sure that somebody else can step in and see the evidence of that. And also, you never know what data those documents, are going to show you too, right? For program improvement, like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that. Now that I see it on paper, it looks a little different. So great. Anybody else have a comment or a question? Yes, Ms. Gutierrez.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in the recommendation, we recommended that the institution come back at the August meeting to update us on their progress in removing that stipulation, so that, as Ruth said, we can, work to get that removed.
Right. That might work, right? Because over the summer, you'll be thinking about who was in place as you finish up this year and people graduate, and who you're going to bring back. So a great time to put whatever actions you have in place. So that would mean we need a member Forbes. I see your hand, and then member Morrison.
Well, I think I have a question then. So in our motion, we would want to, well, I guess I can just try to make the motion. I would move then that we accept the revisit team report and their recommendation of changing from accreditation with major stipulations to accreditation with stipulations, with a follow-up report in August. Because I didn't see that language about the follow-up report, which would be the means by which the stipulation would be removed, right? Because otherwise it sounds like it ends today, this is what you have.
So we have a motion on the floor. Member Morrison, did you have something that you wanted to ask or comment on?
That covers mine, so I will second that motion.
Okay, terrific. We will now do a roll call vote then.
Cynthia Amos, Kathy Kreisha, Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Lorson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And really, I'm going to say congratulations, because it's one thing. You're going to tackle that this summer, and then you'll be on your way. So congratulations. And thank you for a great report from Dr. Metzhall. And we look forward to seeing you in August.
Thank you all. Thanks, Commission. Thanks, Sen Miranda.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Okay, that takes us to item 20, which I'm going to recuse myself and turn it over to my amazing co-chair, Dr. Felly.
Amazing. Well, thanks. Thanks, Anna. So item 20 is the discussion of actions taken by Sonoma County Office of Education to address the stipulations. Consultant Dr. Sarah Solari Colombini will introduce the item, and joining her is Institutional Representative Jason Lee, Executive Director of the North Coast School of Education. Does anyone need to recuse himself? Okay, seeing none, Dr. Colombini, would you please begin?
Thank you. Good afternoon. This item provides information on the actions taken by the Sonoma County Office of Education to address the remaining stipulations from its 2019 accreditation site visit. If you will recall, a revisit was held in March of 2019. The COA adopted the recommendations of the revisit team, which were to remove several stipulations, but to maintain stipulations that address the unit's programs being based on sound rationale and informed by theory and research and aligning to the program standards, and that the program ensure that satellite programs receive sufficient resources. Another stipulation that was maintained was that of the implementation of a continuous improvement process. And then at the program level, the CTE program was to submit a course matrix that outlined the areas where candidates were provided the opportunity to be introduced to, practice, and assess the competencies in CTE. As you can see from the report that is before you today, since the 2019 accreditation site visit, the North Coast School of Education, which is housed at the Sonoma County Office of Education, has transformed its programs to better align with the Commission's adopted standards and has created coherence among its educator preparation programs that are based on a sound rationale grounded in theory and research. The institution has examined the effectiveness of its operations in satellite locations and made decisions around which it should stop offering. And finally, it has implemented a continuous improvement process that informs both the unit level and individual programs to maintain effective practices. In addition, the designated subjects CTE program has developed a clearly defined course matrix that shows where candidates are provided the opportunity to be introduced to, practice, and assess competencies in their area. So it is the recommendation of the staff that the COA remove all remaining stipulations and grant the Sonoma County Office of Education the status of accreditation. The Executive Director of the North Coast School of Education, Jason Lee, is here with us today if you have any questions for him. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Colombini. So anybody have any questions you'd like to ask of Dr. Lee, who's here joining us? Or Dr. Lee, would you like to make some comments first?
Yes, thank you very much. For those of you that were there in my very first visit, I believe in May of 2019 after the site visit, I hadn't even been in my position a year. I'd come from a public school district in Sonoma County and an assistant superintendent. And so I think that the timing, I'm somebody who believes in everything happens for a reason. My position, being new in the position, and the timing of the accreditation was perfect. It really allowed us as a unit to really, it was hard for many in the beginning, taking that on the chin and being told that programs, it was uncommon to see a program receive the number of stipulations we had received. But, like I said, it was what we needed to really put in the work to improve our program and really serve our candidates in our community at a much higher level. And so the timing along with that was our county office became a regional lead in continuous improvement. So again, unintentionally aligning the accreditation visit with the work we're doing. And it really it's been a valuable experience. And so I appreciate the support that Dr. Colombini has given to our program throughout the process. And I'm very, very confident this is going to be kind of a cycle of continuous improvement that in our next visit and the process that go along with that next level of accreditation, we'll see that we'll even have continued growth and be really on top of what's happening for producing high quality candidates in all of our programs. So I'm not being facetious when I say thank you for this opportunity, because me as a leader, it really allowed me to kind of just roll up my sleeves and get elbow deep in everything that needed to happen across our entire unit. And I'm lucky to have the team that we have. And so I'm happy to entertain any questions Commission may have for it.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Lee. Yeah, I do remember in March of 2019. So it's interesting. Some of us were here at that time, and I kind of seen that progression. So it's very encouraging to seriously to see the progression from one step to another to finally this step here with the recommendation. So congratulations on the work that's being done there. It's, especially stepping into the position new and basically starting with your feet in the mud and having to dig yourself out of it. And so definitely some progress made. Thank you.
But I would say also that the process works as designed.
Yeah.
Not really understanding it at all in the beginning, and really coming out on the other end, realizing that, okay, that's why it is the way it is, and it has the desired results.
Well, and it's encouraging to hear the comments that you make as far as that the process does work and that the support you get is beneficial. So that's always good to hear. Committee members, any comments or questions you'd like to make? Seeing none, this is an action item. Do we have a motion? Motion by Member Martinez.
First of all, I just want to thank the Sonoma County Office team. I've appreciated each time you've come back to visit us for a report and an update, and just that growth mindset you've always demonstrated and that's been kind of embodied in your work and your attitude. So thank you. And Jason, welcome to the committee next year. We'll look forward to having you on our team. I'd like to propose that we accept the staff's recommendation that for Sonoma County Office of Education be changed from accreditation with stipulations to accreditation.
Thank you, Member Martinez. Is there a second? Second by Member Larson. Any further discussion? All right, Secretary, please call the roll.
Cynthia Amos. Kathy Gracia.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Well, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you all very much, and I look forward to getting to know some of you even better down the road. Take care.
Yeah, we will see you in August. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Colombini. All right, that brings us to item 21. I'll now turn the meeting back over to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Moore. Anna, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, item 21 is the discussion of the 7th year report for CalState Teach. Consultant Cheryl Hickey will introduce this item. Joining her are institutional representatives, Dr. Ernest Black, System-Wide Director, Dr. Nan Barker, Continuous Improvement Director, and Dr. Rebecca Churchick, Induction Coordinator. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? All right, Ms. Hickey, will you begin, please?
Certainly. So this is the follow-up report, the 7th year report for CalState Teach. They had at their site visit, which was in the fall of 2019, which seems so long ago, but it was late fall, and then the committee only heard their report in early 2020. So that's the timeline there. So this is their 7th year report. They addressed the 3 issues that were in their report that were less than fully met. So Common Standards 4, which was the continuous improvement program related to the formality of an assessment system or continuous improvement system, and then 2 standards within the induction. One around the ILP being the central focus for the induction program, and then the other standard related to how the quality of services of their mentors are assessed. So I will, they did get full accreditation, but did have a 7th year follow-up report. So I will turn it over to Dr. Black.
Hello, good afternoon. And I'm going to kind of have Dr. Churchick talk about the induction piece, and Dr. Barker and I will talk about the continuous improvement. And we will promise not to take a lot of your time this afternoon. But Dr. Churchick, can you speak on the improvements we made with our induction processes?
Of course, I would be happy to. Basically, the commentary that we got was that the site principals were not providing input on the development of the ILP. So we revised the process. So now the site administrators have full opportunity within the ILP document to actually provide feedback on the actual document before they have their triad meeting. So that gives them an additional opportunity to really have some meaningful input into the ILP. So we have that, and then they have to sign the ILP, and then they have the triad meeting. So that didn't really change, but the actual document itself and the processes of how they interact with the development did change. So that's one major revision. In terms of the second issue that we had, which was how do we provide feedback for mentors on their work. So what we decided was we provide the professional development for the mentors at that time. So we invited the faculty who also provide support through the university. So now during those professional development meetings, all those people have an opportunity to kind of provide feedback about how the induction teacher is doing. And then it creates more of an opportunity for feedback from all parties. So it's the faculty mentor, then it's the school site coach mentor, and then the induction teacher. And so then I'm also overseeing all of that, and I'm in all of the meetings so that we can see and make sure that everyone is getting the feedback that they need. Additionally, in our induction faculty meetings, we kind of teamed up with continuous improvement. And so we have all of the surveys at the end of the term. So we will review them in between terms, and then we'll start the new term with sharing the different survey results with the different faculty mentors. And that in a nutshell is kind of how we responded to the different issues.
Now, please let me know if you would like me to go to the continuous improvement piece, or if you have questions for this piece. How would you like to do
Go
that?
ahead and go to the continuous improvement, please.
Thank you. So Dr. Barker, can you begin that, please?
Sure. So our biggest learning from the accreditation experience is that we had not done a very good job of sharing our continuous improvement with our faculty. So although we had a faculty committee that was working continuously on our continuous improvement plan and also on looking at data and analyzing data, we realized that we had not provided good documentation of how we share that back with the faculty. So we started really looking at the data that we've been collecting and analyzing it within our continuous improvement committee. We had faculty participation of the committee members, and then we disseminated that back out to the faculty at our regional faculty meetings and also at our statewide faculty meetings. So it became a regular agenda item at our meetings.
Thank you. And Mr. Black, bringing us home.
So the piece that I want to add here is that when we looked at our continuous improvement, our previous continuous improvement plan, we, did kind of recognize that all of our faculty weren't fully aware of what we were doing and why we were doing it. So as we move to our next accreditation cycle, we have really kind of really dug into a mission and vision that all of our faculty can understand and embrace. We're really looking at continuous improvement. So every faculty gets to be involved and needs to be involved in this process. But it wasn't until we got that little ding that we really were aware that our faculty weren't fully aware of our mission and vision and why we did what we did and when we were going to do it and when we were going to stop and how we were going to improve. So this really gave us an opportunity to look at our program from a macro level and really kind of get all of our faculty involved. And it really feels different. So we want to really kind of thank you for that part, because we would not have noticed that previously. Thank you.
Thank you. We like to call it feedback, not dings. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Thank you for your comments and for the information. Are there any questions or comments from the committee members? Yeah, Member Forbes.
Well, thank you. I'll echo Co-Chair Moore in appreciating the spirit with which you took this on and your observations about it. It's really encouraging and great to hear about that. I have one very tiny question or comment about editorial comment about the report itself. I still see like a highlighted piece with some X's. And so I just wanted to draw attention to that so that it might be fixed before, or if it needs to be or not.
Page 2.
Page 2. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it was very clear and easy to understand what you've been up to. But great to hear from you in person. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Any other comments? This is an information action item. We don't need to take action. We can just say thank you and have a great day. Or if anybody wants to make a motion that we accept the report, we can do it that way too. Remember, we're just good to go?
Yeah, I see Jerry's hand.
Okay. All right. Okay, everybody. You want to make a motion?
Member Morrison.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to move that we accept the report, the 7th year report for CalState Teach.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second? Member Forbes is a second. Roll call vote, please.
Cynthia Almos.
Aye.
Kathy Kershaw.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Wonderful. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your enthusiasm and the information with us. And have a great day. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Before we go to item 22, did we finish item 5? Yes, we did, didn't we? Yeah, we're good, Erin. I remember that. Yeah, thanks. So that was our last time certain for the day. That takes us to item 22, which is the discussion and potential adoption of a PPS school social work crosswalk. Is Karen ready? Is she here?
Yeah, we have.
Yes, great. And Roxanne, wonderful.
Roxanne, right.
Okay, consultants Karen Sacramento and Roxanne Purdue will introduce this item. Ms. Sacramento and Ms. Purdue, will you begin, please?
Actually, Erin, I'm disabled on screen sharing. If you could.
Should work.
Okay,
now.
great.
Yeah.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could see the crosswalk, and we'll go over that in just a minute. So, good afternoon, committee members. Before we get started, if you could just indulge me for a moment. On this particular item, Karen and I, along with our administrators, Cheryl and Erin, would like to take a moment to give a special thank you and a goodbye to our graduate student assistant, Jasmine Carr. Jasmine has been invaluable in our PPS work this year. She's contributed many hours towards the 3 PPS crosswalks, including the school psychology one you saw previously. While we're going to miss her, we wish her well on her future endeavors now that she's finishing up her master's degree and her PPS credential requirements as we speak. Literally, she's finishing up. We want to thank her and just best wishes, Jasmine. Oh, and by the way, whoever employs her next, they're going to be very lucky because she's a superstar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now on to the item. Commission staff and pupil personnel services, PPS school social work content experts, which would include a special thank you to Jerry Lavina from UCLA for his assistance, have prepared a draft crosswalk on the Council on Social Work Education, CSWE, standards compared to the Commission's PPS school social work program standards and performance expectations. So it has both in there. If approved, the commission staff will use this document to guide institutions and reviewers within the accreditation activities. Education Code Section 44373C3 and the Commission Accreditation Framework Section 3 speak to the functions of the Committee on Accreditation in regard to the comparability of standards. Option 2 within this section is comparability with national or professional program standards. This states that if the Committee on Accreditation determines that the proposed national or professional standards are collectively comparable in breadth and depth, when taken as a whole to the Commission's adopted standards, the committee may approve the proposed national or professional standards for use in accreditation. The PPS standards and performance expectations were adopted by the Commission in April 2019. During the revision and workgroup process for these standards, the expert workgroup members directly and intentionally aligned the newly crafted California standards and performance expectations with the guidelines and principles of affiliated national professional standards that so many California PPS institutions operate under, and which are considered both benchmarks and exemplars in pupil personnel services programs. Following the adoption of the PPS standards and performance expectations, PPS school social work content experts from across institutions in California, along with commission staff, have worked diligently together to prepare a draft school social work CSWE crosswalk. This comprehensive crosswalk document is included in item 22 as a second link from the item report. The CSWE PPS School Social Work Crosswalk document provides the full and detailed information on the direct link of the PPS School Social Work Group alignment and would provide an important resource document for determining what nationally accredited CSWE institutions currently provide and what they may need to additionally provide for commission accreditation purposes. Now, I want to briefly review the crosswalk with you, and so I'm going to ask if you give me a thumbs up if you're seeing the crosswalk right now on my share screen. Great. And hopefully I have it big enough for you that you can actually read it, because I know it can be, it was a pretty detailed document and fitting it all on one screen was pretty hard. So basically what you're seeing is a crosswalk between the CTC commission standards and expectations for PPS school social work, comparing it with specifically the Council on Social Work Education, CSWE, national accreditation. So column one provides the program standard we're looking at along with the title. Column 2 gives you the standard elements for that entire standard. So those are lettered. Column 3 gives you the applicable CSWE standards. You have educational policy, which is known as EP in this document. So if it says EP, it means educational policy. You have explicit curriculum. You have actual accreditation standards also for field education. So as you're going through, you can see that in order to encompass just Program Standard 1, you're going to go through a lot of the national standards to have full and comprehensive comparability. In this particular case, with this particular crosswalk, there was a very tight alignment between the state standards for California and the national standards, and that was intentional by the school social work group. In fact, in examining the crosswalk, you will find that all standards are aligned for the most part, except for 2 standards which have one part of one element each, which are not aligned. And that also was intentional by the group. As they looked at the national standard, they found certain elements that were important to California did not exist on the national standards. And so they included them in the California standards. So the first standard, Program Standard 1, is fully aligned. Program Standard 2 is fully aligned. And then the first time we see an element without alignment is Program Standard 3, which is the monitoring, supporting, and assessment of candidate progress toward meeting credential requirements. So these talk about, this Program Standard 3 for the commission talks about things the program must do. And if you look down at G, you'll see that we have some blue text there, the blue font, that represents the element that did not have an alignment with the national standards. So specifically on G, it says provides reasonable accommodations for those with special needs, including accessible academic programs and field experiences. So that was specifically what the work group felt was important to California that they did not see in the national standards. And so they pulled that element out as something that's important to address within the accreditation process. Now, as we go down, the other element that, that was not addressed was under program standard 4, number 3 down at the bottom. It says candidates must meet with their field supervisors for a minimum of 1 hour of individual supervision a week. And that was met. But then it says the field supervisor or field instructor must be accessible to the candidate at all times while the candidate is accruing their field work hours. And so just like with induction, where you have that just-in-time support for the candidate, this reflects the same concept of just-in-time support for that candidate during their field work. And whether that's the field supervisor or the field instructor, somebody needs to be available to them to provide that just-in-time support as they're serving in their field work as a school social work, other than just the once a week for an hour. They need to have that contact. And so that was not available in the national standards, that just-in-time support. And so it was important to California and it was added into the standards here. Everything else was fully aligned. And with that, Karen and I would like to recommend as a team that staff, that the COA review the PPS School Social Work CSWE Crosswalk that we just went through. And if it's acceptable, approve it for accreditation purposes. And we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for walking us through that. That was really, really interesting. A lot of work that goes on behind these crosswalks. Are there any questions or comments from the committee members? It's a little, Member Forbes.
Again, thank you for all this work from the staff and your student assistants. Would the goal of this eventually then be to come up with a document like the Streamlined Program Review Submission, or how would this crosswalk be implemented in order to streamline the process?
Yeah, I think anything, just like we talked about ASHA and other national professional standards, whenever there's that comparison, we would look at the next step then, just like we did with the school psychology this time. So that would be a goal.
Is it possible to get out of screen share right now?
Oh, sure.
I can see everybody's face. Okay, thank you.
So if I could just follow up my question. So what we'd be approving right now is the crosswalk itself. And then any potential way that that would be implemented to streamline the accreditation process would be a new agenda item at some point in time.
Yes,
Just not sure.
I think that's very true. I think we were trying the NASP one as a sort of our first foray into this new thinking. But we would definitely have to follow up with the other two since it was so specific to NASP. So we would follow up in the future commission meeting or COA meeting with either a generic description or one that's very specific to these two PPS areas. Yes. And Erin did the big bulk on the last item, so I don't know if you have something else to add.
Sure, I would just say, yeah, of course, Committee Member Forbes, we talked about this during lunch, like, okay, and now we're about to see 2 new crosswalks. So what does that mean? But, we couldn't know. When I evaluate or when staff evaluates what program review documentation or evidence would be necessary for both school social work now and school counseling, if there's some overlap there and we can just make one submission guideline for PPS programs with national professional accreditation, then we'll just do one. But I have not looked at the other 2 programs yet. So what comes back to you in June may be a surprise.
Thanks.
Yeah, these crosswalks involve so many people and so many drafts go back and forth. It takes months of work for everybody, both for our outside content experts and staff. Karen and I work as a team on everything that we do. And so thankfully, because we have other programs to work on too, but even Erin and Cheryl were completely involved in the process. So it takes a lot of time to put together the crosswalk, for sure.
Yeah, and just another thank you to all the people in the field who helped make sure that this was valid and, got some feedback to make sure, yeah, are you in agreement with this? So both Karen and Roxanne reached out to all of the programs that offer these programs.
Great. It's been vetted. Any other comments or questions? This is an information action item. We can have a motion to accept the crosswalk. Thank you, Member Hillis. Can you please state the motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the crosswalk for the adoption of the PPS school social work.
Thank you. A second? Co-Chair Frelly, we will now do a roll call vote.
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Kathy Krisha.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Ellis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And just a thank you to both you, Ms. Purdue and Ms. Sacramento, and again to all the people in the field who did all the work. Ms. Hickey, Ms. Sullivan, you too. There's a lot going on here, and it's really appreciated. Thank you.
And Jasmine.
Yes,
Jasmine.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. And that takes us on to item 23. Oh, it's you again. No, just kidding.
Here we are.
All right. This is the potential discussion and potential adoption of a PPS school counseling crosswalk. Ms. Sacramento and Ms. Purdue, will you begin, please?
Yeah, and I will go ahead and take this one. Good afternoon, COA members. This item really piggybacks on the item you just heard, very similar to the PPS social work crosswalk item. Today, you're obviously becoming very familiar with PPS program crosswalks. So though what I'm going to cover right now does have repetition from that item to this one, we really thought in thinking it through that it was important to completely present each item so that the public and stakeholders receive the full information on the PPS counseling crosswalk as well. So Commission staff and People Personnel Services PPS School Counseling Work Group members and content experts have prepared this draft crosswalk, a crosswalk with the Council for Accreditation on Counseling and Related Educational Programs, CACREP. Their standards compared to the Commission's PPS School Counseling Program standards and performance expectations. I would like to specifically thank Shira Minton of CSU Northridge for her expert work and guidance, both as a work group member and in guiding us along with the crosswalk. As with the social work crosswalk, if this crosswalk is approved, Commission staff will use it as well to guide institutions and reviewers within accreditation activities. And again, this crosswalk is in accordance with Education Code 44373 and the Commission Accreditation Framework, Section 3, Option 2. And that really speaks to that comparability of national, with national or professional program standards, and states that the Committee on Accreditation determine if those proposed national or professional standards are collectively comparable in breadth and depth when taken as a whole with the commission standards. You may then approve to use those in accreditation. Our PPS program standards and performance expectations were adopted in April of 2019, And during that work group time, that revision time, and Roxanne really touched on this, but those expert work group members very purposefully and directly aligned these newly crafted California standards and performance expectations directly with those guidelines and principles of affiliated national professional standards. So many of our California PPS institutions operate under those, and they are considered the gold standard, the benchmark, the exemplars in PPS services programs. So this really was the framework of the review and revision process. The crosswalks then extend that. These draft crosswalks are the kind of the next step then in our thinking about how those two align. So the full crosswalk, the comprehensive crosswalk is here for you in item 23. And you will actually see with counseling that there's complete alignment between the California PPS school counseling standards and CACREP, except for one area in program standard 5 where California Ed Code is called out. So again, it's just that direct link from the panel alignment work to this resource document. And it provides that guidance in terms of what and how the program is aligning with commission standards, and then what they may need to additionally provide for commission accreditation purposes. So we ask that the COI review the draft pupil personnel school counseling CACREP crosswalk, and if acceptable, approve it for use and accreditation.
Thank you, Ms. Sacramento. At this time, as we have comments or questions from the COA members from Ms. Sacramento. Very thorough report, I guess.
I think I'd like to just jump in and just echo for both Roxanne and Karen, and all the teams that you're representing right now, just the incredible work that's gone into all this. And I love the direction of streamlining and making connections across the system. So just gratitude for your work. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the alignment with national standards, especially if most institutions are already using those in the PPS. It just makes sense. Member Forbes, thank you.
And I'd just like to say, I feel like I understand these standards so much better now than I did before, and having been on some site visits with these types of programs, I'm glad to have a fuller picture of some of the requirements that they have.
Right, they're so different than our teacher and administrator credentialing programs. So it is good to take a little dive in there.
You and me both, Dr. Forbes.
Member Hillis.
I was just curious. I was familiar with CACREP a number of years ago, and it was always my understanding that the CACREP standards were considered some of the more rigorous national standards within the field of education. Is that still the case? And is that partly why California aligned with the CACREP standards?
When we were working.
Sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
Sorry, I was on mute. I couldn't unmute. Yes, that is the work group looked across a number of counseling standards, and again, yeah, I think that is really the reason they're considered to really pull out those things that are most important in school counseling programs. So yeah, I would say that they are considered the most robust and rigorous.
And they considered them exemplars as well. So.
Great.
I think we're lucky right now, and the reason why we're able with PPS to develop all these crosswalks right now is because we're doing transition right now to the new standards. And so they just had the work group. They've just redone all the standards. They had a focus on national standards that had also been redone recently. And so they had those exemplars out there as they were creating their standards, and they really chose as a work group to make some alignments there. And so I don't know if this sort of crosswalk would work across all areas because work groups come in cycles. But right now it was a perfect moment in time for PPS.
And I would add that I think in looking at the PPS school counseling standards, you will see alignment as well with ASCA, the American School Counselor Association. So there's a fair amount of shared language there as well, and shared intention and goals. But CACREP was really the one that was most focused on.
Great. Well, this, as before, this is an information action item. We can go ahead and have a motion to accept the recommendation. Member Larson, thank you.
I move that we accept the recommendation for the crosswalk between the Pupil Personnel Services School Counseling standards and the Council for the Accreditation of Counseling and Related Educational Programs.
Thank you. And a second, please. Member Hillis. Ms. Bernardo, will you please do a roll call vote?
Cynthia Amos.
Aye.
Kathy Gracia.
Aye.
Cheryl Forbes.
Aye.
Bob Fraley.
Aye.
Mike Hillis.
Aye.
Lynn Larson.
Aye.
Marty Martinez.
Aye.
Anna Moore.
Aye.
Gerard Morrison.
Aye.
Motion carries. So well done. Great work, everybody. And out in the field, if you're listening, same. Thank you and terrific work. Congratulations. Right. Okay, well, that takes us to the end of the day. We will return tomorrow morning at 8:30, not 9 o'clock, and begin this the rest of the COA meeting. Can we stop recording? This meeting is adjourned until tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody.